Hello friend, Beechard Moorefield here, and welcome to Make It a Great Day. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I want to help you make it a great day. You already know this, but I'm going to make this statement to you. Kites rise highest against the wind, not with it. When I was a kid, I would often fly a kite, and invariably where we lived there were trees around, and invariably I would lose that kite because I would get it way up above the trees, and then if I didn't watch what was going on and the wind died a little bit, it would get down in the string would get down in the trees, and it's gone. Because these were big trees. These were trees that were probably 100 years old, and again, up in those trees that high, it was gone. So if I didn't have enough money to go buy another kite, I just had to go without a kite for a while. But once again, kites rise highest. You get your best flights against the wind. In other words, just because things are going your way doesn't mean you're going to have the best success. Sometimes there are obstacles in your path. There are things that could hold you back, but if you learn to use the opposition well, you can not only succeed, but you can succeed at higher levels than you ever thought possible. Here's a thought for you. Did you know that neither Orville nor Wilbur Wright had a pilot's license? I know that may seem ridiculous, but think about it. Where could they go to learn to fly? Who was going to take them up and let them solo their first time? There was nobody around, and yet they flew the first plane. What did they? They had obstacles to overcome. They were bicycle makers from Ohio who had to move to North Carolina to make this plan work for them. They needed elevations. They didn't have it where they lived. They had to move. That's an opposition. That's a problem. That's a barrier to overcome. They needed more wind. They didn't have it where they were. They had to come to a place where there was more wind. They needed steady wind, and they didn't have it where they were. They had to come to a place. They had to do the research. They had to find the place. Then they had to manufacture everything that was done. Nobody had done what they did before they did it. And they did what most people said couldn't be done. In fact, the story is told about a man who was in fact, Orville and Wilbur's father, who invited a minister over who was the president of a local Christian college. They were having dinner, and someone made the statement, well, if man was meant to fly, he'd have wings. There sat Orville and Wilbur at the table hearing that. Well, obviously, they didn't take too much of that to heart, because they're the ones who, December 1903, flew the first powered flight at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Now, most people know that, at least if they studied history. I'm saddened at how little history is known today. But they didn't have a pilot license. Here's another thought for you. It was a rank amateur. Well, let me say this first. Professionals built the Titanic. It sank on its first voyage. It was a rank amateur who built the ark. He had a successful voyage. Of course, you know the story of Noah. He had obstacles to overcome. He was doing something that had never been done. He was doing something that the world would have viewed impossible. How are you going to get all those animals on that ark? What's an ark? It's never rained. How are you going to cut all this wood? How are you going to put it all together? How? Oh, it can't be done. I'm sure he heard lots of that. And in the meantime, he was a full-time minister. So if you're a full-time minister watching me today and you think, well, I just can't get this done, you need to read about Noah. You need to read a little history about Orville and Wilbur. You need to find out that when many people say it can't be done, that doesn't mean it can't be done. For with God, all things are possible. I want to encourage you today. Just because there's opposition in your life, don't let it stop you. If the wind is blowing against you, head your aircraft carrier into the wind and fly your jets off the deck of that carrier and do the spiritual warfare you need to do. If there are elements in the world who are saying you can't, then buck up, little soldier, you sure can. Sometimes you may have to ask some questions. You may have some trial and error. You may go through some times that look like you're just falling all over the place, but don't give up. You know, there was a time in your life when you couldn't walk. Aren't you glad that no one was going around saying you can't, you can't, you can't? But that there was a mom and a dad and maybe a grandpa or a grandmother who was saying, come on, Junior, come on, little girl, you can walk, come on. Holding you by the hand, helping you get that one step in front of the other. Listen, I'll tell you what, even if you're not the person who's trying to take off against the wind, why don't you find someone who is and take them by the hand and help them take that first step? What am I talking about? I'm talking about making it a great day. Help yourself, help others, do what they say can't be done, be diligent, but do it. I'm Beechard Moorefield. Make it a great day.